Oh, g'day again, champions. It's the last video on this one, I swear. So I've got her up and running, purring. I've done a few changes. I got a bit carried away laying out the board. Things like the depth mod was silly on this design of an amp. I took that out because it didn't sound great. A few fuck ups. I first fired it up and I forgot to connect the preamp ground to the chassis, so I was getting a horrible hum, and then I realised that the wire at the other end was still underneath the board, unconnected. We got lucky on the 50-50 chance of doing the primary of the power output transformer correct, so there was no horrible squealing or oscillation there. And with trim pot at pretty much bang on halfway, we're sitting right at 60%. So that bias range, these components in the bias circuit are perfect. Now, I must add, I've got to clarify some stuff from comments and maybe stuff I wasn't very clear about, and just stuff I said wrong or did wrong. The cathode resistors, for example, they were 1K. I don't know, in the process of filming, I said 10K and then my brain just ran with it. But measuring them and looking closely at the color code, it was a bit of an orangey hue to the red, but it's definitely red and they're definitely 1K. So sorry about that misleading information. That's probably why it didn't sound like an absolute bag of shit, like it was still kind of usable. There was audio problems on the previous video too in DaVinci. I'm still getting my head around DaVinci and how to use it. I had all my muting automated. Everything's working beautifully. It's just like using a digital audio workstation, and gave me memories of using Pro Tools. Beautiful setup, beautiful system. For some reason, the automation didn't work during the rendering process. So there was no switching between the cabinet mic and my vocal mic as I spoke and then played, which had it playing back beautifully in DaVinci, but then when I processed the video and then I uploaded it, because I very rushed at the moment, very little time. I didn't have time to double check the whole video and sit there through half an hour. Who's got time for that shit, right? You guys, that's who. So sorry about all of that. There's going to be more teething problems with DaVinci Resolve, I think. I'm starting to get the hang of it, but every time I process a video, something new weird happens. I've got to figure out what caused it, but bear with me. You come here for the comedy, not the video editing prowess. So back to the amp. There's still a slight hum, and although it's very low, it shouldn't be there with the way I've grounded it. So Spidey sense tingling, I started measuring some ripple on each of the HT nodes. All right, so I got the meter on AC volts, B plus node, about 2.3 volts, about what I'd expect. Probably a bit lower than I'd expect because it's got the paralleled 32 microfarad. That's the other thing I always do on video. I get my units mixed up. Sorry about that. Orders of magnitude. All other video guys will attest that that's where you mess things up. It's just stream of consciousness. You say dumb shit all the time. Anyway, so yeah, considering the capacitance on the B plus node is about double what it originally was with a JTM45. We've got about 2.3 volts there. I'd expect around double that at least, maybe 5 or 6 volts. But moving on to the screen node, we've got 1.4 volts, which is high because it's after the choke. I'd expect to see around 400 or 500 millivolts there, or maybe even 400 or 500 millivolts is about what I'd expect. So that's about 3 or 4 times what it should be. Then moving down to the phase inverter node, we've got 700 millivolts. That's way too high. Should be down around, I don't know, 40 or 50 millivolts by that point. And then moving on to our preamp node up the end. I'll try not to short anything out. We've got around 20, fluctuating a bit, but somewhere between around, on average, 15 millivolts. So that's a bit high as well. We should be down around the 2 or 3 millivolts by that point. So I think we've got a bad screen node capacitor. While we're here, I'll just check the bias, a ripple on the bias. We've got 400 millivolts. And then on the second node, we're down around 7 millivolts. Now, bear in mind that's being fed to the grids of the output valves and getting cancelled out. It's in phase on both the grids. The grids are pulling either side of the output transformer. So I think we've got a bad screen node, and the phase inverter node's trying to do the heavy lifting and it can't. So what I'll do is I'll just sub in one capacitor. I'll just parallel it temporarily on the leads, the lugs down there. That's not a way to replace a cap. That's just temporarily proving my thesis. And if that's the case, we'll have to get a new cap on order, which is fun. What I could do is put a single section here, bring it down to say 47 microfarad. Bit easier on the rectifier valve that way. And then put this one down there. Although the fact that we've already lost a section in a 10-year-old cap, well, it's been in this amp for 10 years. Who knows how long it was on some shelf before that. Do we just replace both of them? Then we've got a full recap. We've already replaced the preamp one. I think we might do that, but it means we've got to order stuff and wait. So this will have to go on the shelf when it comes back. Because that ghosting that I picked up on the first video, that's likely because of that. And stupid me, didn't measure it, did I? When there's so much other stuff going on in an amp, I've said this before, you make assumptions that may not be correct. You should really dig in and measure everything and know for sure. But yeah, sometimes time's of the essence, and you've allowed an hour to go over everything and do all the admin, write emails, itemize everything, get pricing, and time can be pretty tight in that respect. Especially if they don't go ahead with the job, because then it's just time down the drain. So I'll temp this cap in, and then I'll just have a quick listen, just make sure that ripple's gone away and that we're expecting to see the ripple that I would expect on each node. All right, job well done. Back to the customer it goes. If that's anything to go by all the other amps that come in here. All right, so let's fire this up and we'll see what the ripple sits at on each node. All right, champions, that hum is completely gone. Now, bear in mind, I've got the lighting on, the noisy LED lighting. This stuff's particularly terrible on the overhead shelf. Turn it up. That's volume on 10. Barely any hiss. Still zero hum. So it goes to show how much the ground can be improved, even on a standard Marshall amp. Let's go everything max. Even the presence. And all you're getting is hiss. No hum. I'd say the grounding is a success. That's great. So let's check the ripple on your nipple. So B+, we've got 2.2 still volts. Pretty well unaffected. Screen node, can test it down here, that's linked. We're down to 30 millivolts now. Wow, vast improvement. See, when I said 400 millivolts before, I was thinking a capacitive input, not a choke. But yeah, being a choke, it's going to be a lot smoother. Phase inverter node, about 15 millivolts. Preamp node, again, just try not to short anything out. Down around, again, fluctuating a bit. But down around 3 millivolts. Fan-bloody-tastic. So we'll have to get a new cap on. Well, I might get two. I mean, we've come this far, champions. What's a couple of new caps, eh? Someone also mentioned in the comments that these may not be actual modulus audio caps. I don't know. I had to make a lot of assumptions again. I can just deal with what's in front of my face, what I see with my own two eyes. Of course, you know, we did look at the eBay listing. I didn't mean to draw so much attention to the person selling these or company or business selling these. But at the end of the day, you know, the photos on there have the same issues as this amp had. So, ad hominem shit, I don't want to go down. I never do. But I'm just dealing with the facts. Dealing with what they've got on their own eBay listings, what I had in front of my face. There's people in the comments saying, I've got an amp from that person and it's fantastic. It doesn't look anything like that in front of your face. Okay, cool, but their online presence is selling amps that were the same as this. So, you know, you can't really argue that fact. Anyway, I don't want to go down that road. I don't want to start a battle with anyone. I'm just showing what's in front of your face. I'm here for you legends to make sure that you get your value for money. That is my primary objective, to make sure you guys get value for money, that you get what you paid for, and that you get a reliable amp, and then you can create art and make me happy. Come and get drunk and see a band and ask you to play K-San or Mustang Sally. That's what I live for, champions. So as mentioned, I'm going to put this one aside. I am going to wait for those caps to arrive, then I'm going to install them. I'm going to put some shielding on the inside of the cabinet and heat shield across the top and the back panel as described in the first video. And then when the customer comes, I can have it on the bench ready to go. I might also propose to him, do you want to look at maybe a master volume. If he wants to play at home and get that kind of creamy tone at a more moderate volume, that'd be the way to go. However, he might also have an attenuator or something, so that's why I want to get him on the phone or just have a chat with him. Because that's something we could implement while he waits, and he could take this thing home and warm to it. I'm sure he's very keen to get it back in his hands. He has watched the videos too, so hey mate, how you going? Watching this one too. See you soon. So next time we talk, I'll have him here, I'll introduce him. Hopefully he's not camera shy, and he can play some licks for you and tell us what he thinks, and if we want to change anything, we can do that. That'll be fantastic. So until then, legends, take it squeezy.